What is going on, guys? So I thought I'd do it again, another live video. It's not going to be anything big. It's just something I thought I'd do because something I want to just kind of highlight, especially one of these fallacies that people say about how they say they've actually seen the curvature of the Earth, right? They actually say that they've seen it with their own eyes. Now, I was just out with someone earlier, and he says that he saw it when he was at California at a beach because there was nothing in the way between there and Japan, so he could see the curvature of the Earth from there, he reckoned. So people don't realize how ridiculous that is because, well, you might think you've seen a curve because of, it's more because you get a circle of perspective around you. People might actually think that's actually the curvature. So I was trying to say, well, if it really was the curvature, then how could you see a curve? We're supposed to be on a bottle that's 25,000 miles in size. So you get some people on one side that say that they've seen it from a beach. Then you get some people on one side who say they've seen it. Where they say that you'd have to go up a few miles to see it. So who's correct? Well, the answer is none of them, because the curvature doesn't exist because there's people out there who will say, no, you have to go up higher, and they'll keep shifting the goalposts. That's just, I think it's, anyway. Turquoise Dragon, hey pal, I had trouble making my hangout live or something. I don't know. Well, sorry about that, It was good talking to you guys last night, actually. I might invite a few people in a bit, but I just wanted to kind of highlight these ridiculous claims that people, they say that, about how, they've seen it where, you shouldn't even see it anyway. And that's the point, is like, to me, that when he said that, that just reaffirmed that it was like completely brainwashed. If you think that you've actually seen it, he was on a beach somewhere. He was only able to see a few miles, from left to right, probably a few miles in front of you. So how is it possible to see it there, but yet really high up, it's still not possible to see any curvature? I just wish that people would get it, because it's really something that we need to highlight, because I actually believe they've seen it when such a thing doesn't really exist. It's just, if they believe it, they're going to see it, then there's things with like perspective that are going to trick them into believing they've actually seen it. So if you invest the belief in something, then it can actually make it appear as though that you've actually seen the curve, when it's just, the curve is perspective. It's just, things get smaller and smaller in the distance, and the fact that we can see in a circle is due to the fact that we can't see more in any direction than we can straight in front of us. It's like you can see equal amount of distance in each direction. So if you was to turn your eyes to the left or right, you're going to be seeing like a horizontal curve. That's what you'd see. But you can follow it around, and it's always going to be at eye level. So no matter your altitude, and people have been up on really big mountains, and and they've not seen any. So, and then what he said was, the only reason you don't see it from certain places is because you've got hills and mountains that are blocking the curvature. What? You can't. Even most of the globers would argue that you wouldn't see a curve at sea level, even if there was one, because you're only looking at a small section of the supposed planet that would be so small that you wouldn't be able to detect it anyway. Because if you're seeing 3 miles straight ahead, that means you're probably seeing about 20 miles all around. And someone said that's not enough to make out a curve. You'd have to be up a lot higher to start actually seeing it. So it's something I really wanted to highlight. And there's obviously a lot of other things that we can highlight as well. It's kind of laughable, some of the things that they come out with. Anyway, Flat Plane Explorer, how are you? I lived 7,500 feet up in the Himalayas. It's flat. Well, people still argue it's not high up enough. Yeah, if you're up at that sort of height, then, you're probably seeing things hundreds of miles away, so, you can't really argue that, really. 7,500 feet, that's like nearly kind of 1.5 miles up, so that's pretty high. And I was saying, the curve should probably become visible at about 5,000 feet, really. But that's just me. I'm not 100%. Yeah, I definitely think it would be high enough to see a dip, yeah. Or binoculars, yeah, probably, because if you was to point it straight out, then if the Earth was curving, then you wouldn't be able to see the horizon if you pointed it straight out, but you'd have to kind of, adjust it slightly so you'd actually be able to see it. And people, oh, well, the horizon does actually drop because, well, no one's ever seen the horizon drop, and how come at 100,000 feet, which is almost 20 miles up, in fact, some have gone even higher than that, these high altitude balloons, where it shows no curve, and not only that, it shows the horizon at eye level. So anyway, so flat plane explorer, I know you talk about there being more land and stuff. I like you to give your best evidence. I'm not trying to kind of make you prove it or not, but I know you're claiming that you think that there might be more land, and I can understand that. I even made a video about a while back that it seems more likely that there could be, because it would make more sense that they're hiding land from us instead of there just being a dome that we can't get past, because it seems like that they're going in something. I don't know what it is. So, but some are also saying that the Antarctic Treaty is actually a distraction because we should actually go north. But I'm really not sure. I think that we should just try and, because it was funny I haven't read all of Worlds Beyond the Poles yet, but it said that that it appeared as though it would just go on forever, pretty much. Like whichever direction you're going, you keep on going on and on forever. So whether there's any actual merit to that or not, I don't know. So anyway. So you just feel it then, you just feel that there's more land. I do agree that we need to explore, because I think that we should get out and actually do it. But I think obviously it's about getting the numbers up. But I think if we tell people what if they're hiding more land, then people will be interested in getting out and trying to explore new lands and things. Because people have a natural desire for exploration. It seems to be kind of knocked out of them. So yeah, I was talking last night about how were Venus were, it would be completely impossible on the heliocentric model, and because if Venus is where they're saying it is, and it's millions of miles away, and it's actually closer to the sun, and it's because the sun's supposed to be 93 million miles, Venus is supposed to be 24 million miles or whatever it is that they're saying it is. So it should always be pretty much on the day side of the Earth, and even maybe just after sunset you could actually see a little bit towards the horizon facing the sun, but I could see it at the other side of the sky, and it shouldn't have been visible there at all. So to me, that absolutely crushes the idea that we're going around the sun and Venus is going around the sun, because I saw it off to the east, and the sun was at the west. The sun was set, it had gone dark, so it should have been below somewhere, and yet the Venus was right up in the sky somewhere towards the east or southeast or whatever, but it was totally the opposite direction to where you'd expect it to be. I just like to kind of point these things out, because these are such logical fallacies that people think is flat plane explorer. So you're saying that the dome's a psyop. I've heard people say that. I've also heard people saying that the infinite plane is a psyop. I've heard, because Flat Earth Hub was saying that because the people who are pushing it don't have proof, so they're probably getting sucked into like a psyop or something, because it's all about division and stuff. I don't think it's good to kind of focus on any map really, but it's good to kind of say, well, find more land, because it would make a lot of sense that they're keeping us here when we should actually be all spreading out and trying to see if there's actually more land beyond what they're, whether it's Antarctica or whether it's wherever. But hey, Turquoise Dragon, are you going to be after a link or what? Because I will be sending some out shortly. It's cool like that, you're not kind of subscribed to any model or anything like that, because I suppose when people see your logo, they might think that you're one of those that has like assumptions or something, that you think that there's many lands beyond the ice wall. But is there any proof of it? I don't know. So I'll let you in shortly. Turquoise Dragon. Well, cool. Flat Plane Explorer. Thanks for getting involved in the chat. I don't really know. I think that we should push to try and find out what there is, because then we can progress, then we can have real progression, because then we can actually, because if they're hiding more land, then there's possibly other worlds that we could discover actually. But some are also saying that, well, everything's just here, so there's no point in doing it. I can see different perspectives, but I do agree that we should all not be all stuck in towns and cities. We should all explore. We should all be going out, and because if people don't explore, then they're just going to accept any map that's given to them without any real kind of checking it for its validity and stuff like that. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna send Turquoise Dragon a link. Hang on a minute. Sorry about that. Can you just, I'll just see if I can See if I can send it. So you just have to kind of bear with me a minute, because if you can send me the address again, then I can send you a link, because I don't really remember what your address were. So if you could just give it to me again, then I can send the link again. You got to think, like, what if the Earth really isn't flat? Then why are these people, so all these people, why are they having such a negative reaction to all the people who think it could be flat? I mean, it shows how they're probably going through cognitive dissonance, because otherwise it's just that they're programmed in a way to ridicule it all and all that. So I think it might be a mix of both. It's like, all right, cool. I'll send it there then. So I'll just send you a link to your private messages. Anyway, so I'll send you the link there. So if you want to come on, then the link's in your private messages. So yeah, if you haven't checked out the Chaz Kelly, you should go check him out. He's started doing flat Earth videos and things, and he's a Scottish guy. And I don't know if any of you have seen his video upon Dell's channel of where he's like, I think it was Dell's. Was it Dell's channel? I don't know. Where he was doing like 20 questions or something. And actually, no, it's not on Dell's channel. I think it's on John Smith's channel or something. But yeah, there's so many of us now, isn't it? It's crazy, isn't it? It's like so many people sort of getting involved in this. I think there's even been quite a few since when I started getting into it as well. So from like say 2015, there must have been loads of people that have come into it since. I mean, I came into it 2016, but it's been growing and growing and growing. So it's like, I think from now on it's going to be like exponentially growing, because it's kind of in the mass consciousness, and a lot of people just know it deep down at this point that it doesn't what they're being told, and I don't think we're that far off critical mass, to be honest. And well, I think with what Eternal Padawan was saying, that by the time it reaches critical mass, then they could already have already like planned out everything, and they could just kill us off or something. Well, that's kind of defeatist, like Mike was saying last night. Flat Earth still water guy that was saying that it's a bit defeatist, saying that I suppose it's a bit kind of I suppose we have to be real and kind of realize that they're not going to give this up without a fight, because if they've been at it for centuries and centuries, they're going to be quite desperate to hold on to their power. But the question is, why haven't they killed us off already? I mean, they'd have the power to do that, but Eternal was saying that that would give them the excuse once it reaches critical mass, so everyone would get involved in killing everyone. But I don't even think they could, to be honest, because I know they might have super technology, but they need all the power that there is on Earth, I reckon, to actually do such a thing. And I think it'd be very difficult. Well, if Earth is all there is, then they need all the power in the Earth to destroy it. Well, they couldn't try and actually, it would take it'd still take quite a bit to destroy us, I think. I'm not sure if they'd be able to do it or not. So I suppose we have to be open to the possibility of it, but don't get too doom and gloom, because if people think like that, then they'll be like, oh, there's no point doing anything because we're all going to die anyway. We're all going to end up getting killed anyway. So that's the kind of attitude that some people might have, because so anyway, Turquoise Dragon, I've sent it to your email if you want to come and join me. So how are you, Rory and Cat's Eyes? So yeah, just try and share this out, guys, and see if we can get anyone in that's not been in before. Be good. So yeah, it's crazy how someone can actually believe they've actually seen a curvature from a beach. Well, so they think they'd actually see Japan from, well, I think that's what he was trying to say anyway. If the Earth was flat, you'd see Japan from California. I'm not sure if he was really kind of meaning that. The thing that people say, oh, what's stopping me from seeing across the ocean? Well, there's obviously, it has to do with perspective, and it also has to do with atmospheric conditions. These things are going to affect your ability to see things that are a long way away. So people need to understand that there are things that affect your ability to see, because we see that the ground rises up and rises up.
All right, pal.
Yeah, how are you?
Good, man. There's just 1 second, mate. Yeah. I've just switched onto my mobile, so I'm just rendering on my video on my laptop. So
Right. Yeah, I just wanted to highlight some of these things that people say that, because they say, oh, why can't you see, thousands of miles away? Well, of course, something's going to get in the way, isn't it? Whether it's because of the perspective or whether it's to do with the atmospheric conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And you get a lot of Globers arguing that that's it seems like one of their go-to points. Why can't I see anywhere in the world, even high up, you're going to have to look through some atmospheric conditions?
Yeah, correct. And it's going to change daily. And another thing as well, if it is the oblate spheroid kind of, slightly wider at the equator kind of thing, they're saying, the curvature formula should change if you go north to south rather than east to west. So
it wouldn't change massively, but it might go from being, say, 7.5 to about 8.5 or something. It wouldn't. I mean, but the equator, arguably, if it's wider, then it'd be even more drastic there because there'd be even more of a curve.
It's called a sagitta, yeah. It's like the peak of the arc between 2 points. It's called the sagitta. So on the globe model of perfect sphere, the idea is that any one person, any one observer is theoretically on the top of the globe and everything's downhill from him. Yeah. Everything's curving.
Well, the ground that you see, because of the perspective, if on a globe, it would only rise up so far, but it'd never come up to eye level. But they argue that the Earth's too big for it to make any difference. But if you're getting up high enough, then there should start to be a couple of degrees of declination. Yeah, hey there, Vincent P. How are you? Fiona, how you doing? So yeah, of course, there's that argument that they see ships going over a curve, just a few miles away, and there's nothing left to right. But then you will get a few that argue they've seen it from the coast, but we're actually seeing in a circle around us. So you might confuse that as the curve of the Earth. I mean, if you saw Brainwash, then you'd think that. So anyone else wants to join, then just let me know and give me an address or I can send you a link. So, some pretty mind-blowing stuff last night we were talking about and pretty darn interesting. So, yeah, if you're like kind of viewing something going over a curve at 6 miles away and you're seeing left to right that same distance, then that curve should be visible also. Obviously, it wouldn't be, but that kind of discredits the idea that a ship's disappearing over a curve at 6 miles. So you can't have it both ways. And people will continue to talk about logical fallacies and things that just don't kind of make any sense, really. Well, it looks like the Globers are spitting out the dummy because one of them got banned, I think. Well, so what? Been taking pics? Oh, yeah, it looks like I scared off that legendary change guy, but who cares? He was probably not in it for the right reasons anyway, I mean, let's just see, he's not put a video out in a week. It's a bit funny, isn't it? So, yeah, he kind of didn't make videos for months and then suddenly comes back and then starts putting out flat earth stuff. The hell? I mean, so I don't know where Turquoise went. He's gone now, so that's fine, but Roy McFizz, it was that legendary change guy. It looks like I've scared him off or something. I mean, seems like he were in it for the right reason, because if he were, then he would have just he would have tried to be in pursuit of the truth, and it just seems like because someone was saying probably I did scare him off. But anyway, you can keep disliking it all you like. I don't care. It's not going to make any difference. It's not going to stop flat Earth. You can do it all you like because it doesn't change the fact that we're not living on a spinning ball flying through space, because it's just anyway. Good modding, guys. These people are just, I don't know what they're trying to do, to be honest. But they're waiting to come in. It goes well, and then suddenly they're all coming in. It's not me that's bothered, but it can be ruining it for other people that are in chat that are wanting to just have chats, and it's like they're spamming all this crap in it. That's just I was watching Vincent's hangout the other day, and I didn't watch all of it, but saw quite a bit. Anyway. Yeah, there's some people that have egos and that are just in it for views and subs and the attention and all that. So he's probably interested in trying to get my viewers to go and watch him or something. So it looked like he took down that video anyway. So if he knew what he was doing was right, then why did he have to take the video down? Bit funny that, isn't it? Because it's kind of should have recorded it really and just exposed his ass. But who cares? Yeah, go on, keep on disliking it. 12, get to 50 or 100. Bring all your socks in and bump up the dislikes. I really couldn't give a fuck. Does anyone else after a link can send some of you if you want to come in? But I just wanted to do it because there's people out there that actually believe that they see when they look at the horizon. Honestly, right, when I was getting into Flat Earth, there was a lot of evidence supporting it. I was like, okay, it probably is, and but I was still kind of struggling with the idea of, well, what about the horizon? Why do we? Because I was thinking that somehow the horizon was proving that curve, because if you can't see beyond that point, then that means that whatever is beyond that is being hidden by the curve of the Earth. But I started to realize, because obviously I was looking into it more and more, it was to do with the perspective and how things vanish in the distance. So it became kind of clear then, why we get the horizon, why we can't see things forever, but some people can actually see things a lot further away than we should be seeing them, like Chicago skyline up to 60 miles away should be under over 2,000 feet of drop, and the whole thing, even the top bit, should actually be below the curve, but you can actually see half of Sears Tower, and they're like, oh, well, why is half of it missing then? That's proving the curvature of the Earth. Well, no, it's the atmospheric lensing actually hides some of it. That's why the sun appears to set, because what's happening is that, notice when the sun's at the horizon, it actually magnifies, and it actually, appears as though it's setting, but it's actually just an apparent sun. It's not. It's a bit of an illusion, really. So it's funny how they're allowed to say that things are illusions, but we're not allowed to say that things can be illusions. Yeah, they're a load of rubbish. I'm not saying they're a load of. Sorry, it's a load of rubbish. The claims that they make, because they have nothing to back up the claims that they make. What do you expect? You're just going to get like loads of socks coming in. Not a lot of them in chat though, but they'll just come and spam the dislike bar. Doesn't bother me one bit. So anyway, yeah, pretty much I think he deleted the video. If you go on his channel, the last video on his channel, let's have a look. Legendary Chain is the one I was on. I was on with Ireland Von Vicious, and so I was on with the Ireland Von Vicious and Dan Falconback, and Dan Falconback seemed to be supporting him more than me, so maybe he got sucked in. And it's funny how Ireland was actually supporting me more and saying that that this guy was probably just in it for the wrong reasons. And Ireland even supports the Flat Earth. He's like, even though he doesn't believe it, he believes in the inverse model. Flat Earth still water. You got a link if you want to come in. It's not how far we can see it. It is what is the smallest thing we can see. Same thing. This Sunday. Okay. Wow, they could come up with some better names for some soccer accounts, really. So what I think what they'd do is they'll kind of load up all these different accounts, and they'll start firing out dislikes one after another. So now I'm on 26, only 5 likes. Wow. Anyway. Yeah, so it takes them so many seconds to create soccer accounts, but not so long to delete them. To block them from the Hangout. Why would they need to keep creating all these accounts if they're being real, honest people? Because they would just let the facts talk for themselves. All right, thanks for letting me know, Turquoise. Cool if you could get back on again. Yeah. Yeah, they do need bidding. Yeah. Kind of shows how desperate these people are. If they really were just true, honest people, they wouldn't need to go and try and, be kind of resorting to these tactics. I actually think it's a good thing in a way that they're actually kind of, making themselves look ridiculous. It looks like Hillbilly's got a hangout on right now, and I suppose some people will be going over there. Well, that's cool. I'm not in a competition for views or anything. I don't know how long I'm going to be on here for. I thought I'd just come and talk to you guys for a bit. It's just we need to, those that believe that we landed on the moon, right? If we did land on the moon, why haven't we gone back again? Oh, because we're trying to get past the Allen radiation belt. Well, what stopped us? I mean, what if we did go? Then there should be nothing stopping us. To me, they're almost admitting they never went. It's like they're admitting it without saying it. So yeah. So if they didn't go to the moon, what does that imply? How can you know anything from space is real? Because they can easily just fake it. Fake something as big as the moon landing, then they can pretty much fake anything. So well, apparently on these Earth discussion channel, they'll just ban anyone if they don't agree or something. so they spit out the dummy when people don't agree with. It's like we don't troll people hard like they troll us or out like that. You know, I don't like it. Like how that they seem to think they're better than us, and they think that we're better. They seem to think that we think that we're better than them, but really they think they're better than us. So we don't think that we're better than anyone. That's the point of all this. It's about dropping ego, because it's not about ego. It's about the truth, isn't it? You know, apparently they went to the moon with less technology than there is in an iPhone. Kind of laughable, isn't it? Actually, I think I watched Flat Earth discussions a while back, but that doesn't exist anymore. But it seems like mainly kind of troll people who just were probably put there just to kind of ridicule the Flat Earth. When a genuine person comes and asks questions, they'll just. I mean, I don't mock people really. Just if they're saying stuff that's fallacious, then we just highlight it and we just kind of. But the thing is, you don't really get a lot of real people, because there's a lot more people get into Flat Earth than there are in the globe troll community. Like it's not even a battle. They're like literally the minority, but a lot of the globers probably aren't even aware that there even is such a thing as a Flat Earth community. They're probably not even aware that people do actually believe it, and there's actually a really large amount of people who believe that community. They're probably not even aware that people do actually believe it, and there's actually a really large amount of people who believe that. Can you turn your volume down, please? They're probably not even aware that people do actually believe it, and there's actually a really large amount of people who believe that. Can you turn your volume down, please? They're probably not even aware that people. How are you?
All right, you?
Yeah.
Eyesight, we've got always judging distance, aren't we?
Yeah.
Well, it's about size, I think, because if you look at something, you can only look at your arm, if you look at it through a microscope, there's a lot more to see, but we can only see down to a certain size. And we only see depth perception because we're using two eyes. So
they talk about ships going over a curve, but there's no visible left to right.
I don't think you'd see it. Even if it was a ball, I absolutely do not agree.
Exactly, because you're only seeing a very small fraction of the globe.
Yeah, but it's the same distance all the way from you. And the way your eyesight works is you only see a very small part in the middle. So it seems like that's further away. Everything outside of that centre point is provisional
peripheral vision.
Yeah, so it's like fuzzy, it's just made up, it's not really there, is it? It's only the point of focus. So it obviously looks further away, and you could perceive it like a curve.
Well, the high altitude balloon footage would definitely start to show a curve.
No, it wouldn't. I don't think.
Why not?
Because your eyes still don't see any further. You think this is the trick. The thing you can see further, they can just see a certain size.
I think the sides should be lower than the middle.
All right then, Jimmy. So you're out at sea, you're on a boat, right? Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
Right, so you look out in front of you. You've got the highest spot there, and it dips down to the sides. Okay? This is what you're saying should happen. Am I right?
It probably wouldn't be visible
a slight
from
dip down to your left and a slight dip down to your right. Is that what you're saying?
Probably.
Right, so if that's your highest spot, now you turn your head to the low spot. Does it continue, keep going down and down and down, or does it somehow just pop back up and be the highest point again?
Well, I was having a problem with it because I was thinking, well, would you even see a curve even if we were on a globe? Because
well, the thing that does it for me,
everyone would be the same altitude because of relatively. But I was thinking because at a certain height, you're looking down at the horizon.
Well, if you come off, you think like if I come off centre, if I come away from the centre of it, right, I might see a curve then. But if you think of a cue, you come off of the curve, you can still draw a line directly back to the centre of the circle again. So you're never off centre, you're always above it. And you can never get up that high anyways. It's like if you want to look at it like a basketball, imagine the inside air, the bit that's occupied by air, that's the planet. Now, the atmosphere is only about the thickness of the skin. So how would you ever get up high enough? That's the trick. You can never get up higher than that. So you can only see such a certain size because your depth perception is caused by both eyes. So if you can only see a certain size, look and say at me trousers, I can see it's got fibres, but I can't see the individual fibres in each fibre. So I can only see so much detail. So the detail has to merge out. So I can only see so far. It doesn't matter how high I go. I can only see so far. So say the moon was just a big flat plate and it looked like a flat, just like the sky does. If I got far enough away from it, it would still look like a circle. That's what I think. Because your eyes are lens and it would have to converge with the outside surroundings.
Or it kind of spreads out when you get higher.
It doesn't. That's why it looks like a circle. It doesn't look any different to me. It looks the same. It's just the colours.
I'm just saying, like, if you get high enough,
yeah,
the horizon's about 50 miles away.
Well, why can we say 50 mile on the ground? Can we say 50 mile if we on the ground? Because we say it's flat, don't we? So there's no curvature for anything to fall over. So can we say 50 mile? That's what you got to ask yourself. Even if you're standing on something, can we say 50
Well,
mile?
I've heard that from a certain height, the horizon becomes just like a blur.
Yeah, it just converges, doesn't it? It's like you can't say right into me fibers on me.
I think it's because of the atmosphere and the ground. So
Yeah.
I think arguing about the visible curve is a bit of a fallacy, really.
Yeah, I do. Because I'll tell you what my biggest worry is, if you don't get that right and you're trying to convince somebody that it's flat and they realise that, then it just makes you, it's like when people who it's like the Flat Earth Society, they do a bad job. It's not intentional, but things really need to be thought through, I think, because
Well, some believe it's a government on site.
Oh yeah, well, I was saying, I was on about the other night, Space Cadets.
I don't know.
There's a program. I'll send you the link to your discussion or something. It's watch them all, and it'll show you how they pick the people out, how they program them, what they're doing. They have two insiders working with them who pretend they don't know what's going on. So there's got to be the two insiders, because there's one insider to back the other insider up to keep making them legit, or even accuse each other to make each other look legit. Do you know what I mean? So there's always two insiders that will stand forward and keep suggesting things to the rest of them, and that's how it works. Now go and watch them, because they're really important, and you'll see how they play it all out. While we're laughing at them, they're laughing at us, laughing at them, because they're stupid for thinking they're going there, because we've already been there, we haven't.
Yeah, can you just turn your volume down? Because
Right.
I mean, Tracy's in. It's really bad, and also Rory's saying it as well. The echo.
Is that better?
No.
Oh no.
No.
I'm almost all the way down, Jamie. So I drop out and come back.
Just try that then.
Is that better, Jamie?
Tracy says it's me. It's echoing. I thought it was coming from your end.
All right.
Anyway, the thing, can't hear much now. Anyway, so we use the argument of no curvature visible, but if you shouldn't see curvature on a globe, then that's even more in our favour, because people argue they've seen it, but they shouldn't see it anyway.
Yeah, well, why is NASA showing it? Do you know what I mean? That's what I can't get over, because it shouldn't look like that.
Show it on Google Earth or something from a couple of miles up.
Yeah, well, you can see when it changes from real to fake, can't you, with Google Earth? It's not very hard.
Oh, you know.
Because you can see.
Let's have a look now. I'm just going to have a look on it now.
Yeah?
But showing a curve or something.
Oh no, I'm on about, you can't see any curves. I'm on about when you pull back from Google Earth. It's aerial photos and then it goes to cartoon, doesn't it? Yeah.
So when it's at the ground, it's actual like real.
Patch together photos, isn't it?
But when you go further out, it's more like sort of just
weather forecast CGI. That's another thing. When you say the weather forecast all the time, they say our satellite photos. Well, I don't say satellite photos. I say pure CGI. So where's the real photos of the real clouds? Because we're looking at clouds over the top of countries. It would be nice to see your whole country with a real cloud, like a real photo, wouldn't it? With the weather.
Yeah, I think we should focus more on like the measurable curvature really than it being kind of visible.
You couldn't measure it. It's too big to measure, isn't it? It's like getting something that's too small to measure.
No, I mean, as in if you was to like, because just simple things like bringing ships back in and things like that.
Yeah, well, that's you hit the nails. Do you know when you say Bill Nye, he does that thing with a model and the ship goes over the horizon and he goes on about pseudoscience? Have you seen that?
I don't know.
And there's a little curved thing representing the ocean, all painted blue, with little waves on it. And he goes on about pseudoscience. And he says the ships go over the horizon like that. And you see the mast going down last because they've got the camera set back. Well, you should do exactly the same experiment what Bill Nye does, saying that people don't have evidence and it's pseudoscience. And then use your zooming camera and try and zoom in on it after it's gone over his curve and then go to the beach and do the real thing again. Show it going down over the mast, going down, and zoom it back in. Because you can't do that with his model. And that's what he's using to say.
Yeah. People are zooming things back in up to 25 miles away, and they should be under 400 feet of curvature.
Yeah, well, you just can't round a curve. It doesn't matter even if that just went down a little tiny bit. Even if all the sails were sticking up and the rest of the thing was under, you still shouldn't be able to pull it in because it's over a curve. How can you? It's like saying I'm going to take a photo around the fucking corner, isn't it?
Well, yeah, people argue things like the Sears Tower being visible, but only half of it. Like, well, that proves that it's not curving where it's supposed to be.
Well, shouldn't things be tilting back?
Exactly.
Yeah, so you would see it the way your perspective where say the top of the building would be closer and it would taper off just slightly, mind. You're not ridiculous, but it should be measurable. So the bottom should be thicker than the top because the top's further away from you.
Yeah, exactly.
And that should apply to mountains.
Notice that, I don't know, because it would be less than a degree of difference.
Well, wouldn't a mountain that's got a high cliff face look like a ramp because it's tilted back until you get to it?
Slightly, but if we're looking directly at it, would it really look like that? Would we be able to perceive it? That's the kind of question, I suppose. If you look at mountains 200 miles away, then that's going to start getting pretty drastic. So,
well, it's not until you're there. It's all perception until you get there and you can verify that what you was perceiving was correct, isn't it? Because sometimes you can say, I'm going over there. That doesn't look too far, and it's twice as far as what it looks. So it's just perception until you can verify.
Well, apparently there was a mountain that was visible from somewhere up to, I think it was 273 miles away, and the tip of the mountain should have been about 800 meters below the horizon, but yet you could see quite a bit of the mountain.
Well, I don't understand if we're on a ball now. What part of a ball doesn't have a curve? Every single part of a ball has a curve. There's no flat spot.
Because even if it weren't curving all the way around, there'd have to be more curvature to make up. Like they say, it's an oblate spheroid, so it's going to have to curve even more somewhere else to make up for that.
Well, surely if I'd done, say, a trench that was just 50 meters long with water, even over that, there should still be the smallest measurement. Everything is in increments. So where's the increment? Do you know what I mean?
What do you mean?
I mean, if you divide the Earth up into smaller and smaller pieces, each little bit, because it's a ball, should have a smaller and smaller curve. So even over a small distance, there should be a very small reading because it makes up the rest of the whole. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I think about half a mile, you'd only have about 2 inches of curve, really.
Well, even 2 inches, what I'm saying is, if you break it down, it should be down into millimeters, even thousandths of an inch. You should be able to measure it.
Exactly, because they have lots of good technology. People should go out and actually do tests and things.
Yeah, like
they should do it with schools and things.
I mean, what would be the alternative? You go out with the spirit level. What do you put in the spirit level? Water. Do you know what I mean? So we put a giant spirit level that's 50 mile long and put water in it because we know it's level. It's ridiculous. It's like they need to wake up, don't they? You know what I mean?
Exactly. So people argue that they've actually seen the curve from a beach, but that's just the circle of perspective. Because that's what I kind of couldn't understand when people in the flat Earth were saying that there is no curvature visible, but would you see it anyway? And I was struggling with it.
Yeah.
But if you could see a curve, it would look like humps. It would look like if you look one way, you'd see different humps all over as you turn in your head.
Yeah, it'd be wavy, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it looked really weird because obviously the way our eyes work is it kind of perceives it flat all the way across.
Because it is flat. That's why it perceives it that way.
Yeah, because you might see a slight curve at the edges if you turn in slightly.
It's in your provisional vision all the time, so if you're always looking out your part of your vision. When I believed it was a ball, I actually seen a slight curve. I didn't see it, I just perceived it to be. Do you know what I mean? So you do see it if you believe it.
Yeah.
We see it totally flat now. Do you know what I mean?
Curve is perspective, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's also what you led to believe though as well. It's suggested.
Yeah, it's the combination, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, when people going about the concave Earth, now if somebody suggested them it's slightly concave, why wouldn't they see the line going slightly the other way and then just think, well...
Exactly, but then you might say, oh, it's because we've seen a circle around us.
Anybody
and we can only see so far and because of the atmospheric conditions, but we should see
it's not
further than that.
I don't think it is atmospheric conditions. It's you can only see to a certain size, Jamie. It's like if you're tiny, if you're really small and you walk away from us on like a tiny a mite and it walks away far enough away, I won't see it when it gets to a certain distance.
You only say about how on a ball the horizon is 3 miles away. I mean, is that true, or is it actually a lot further away than that or something? If your eye,
wait a minute, saying how far is the horizon? Like saying
eye height above sea level,
yeah,
it's supposed to be about 3 miles away. At about 5'7", something like that. It's about just under 3 miles away.
But I think when you go up higher, what you see changes, but you're not seeing any further. It's just a different view of what you're seeing. You're not seeing any further. How can you see further just by going higher? Do you know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense. But you have to see something.
It does block a little bit of buildings and things sometimes.
Yeah, but what I mean is they're still in your vision. You're just seeing it from a higher elevation, so they're coming up into your vision. They're not.
Yeah, well, if you were to go high, you'd see all of the Chicago skyline because you're looking over the water, aren't you? I suppose the waves can sometimes get in the way a little bit.
If we're viewing it through our eyes, we need to really understand how our eyes work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we can argue all day what we're seeing, but if we don't know what we're using to see them with, it's pointless.
Yeah, well, it seems like that, you know, because people zoom and zoom in, but if they might even be able to zoom in further and further than that, you know, and keep zooming past and keep looking further out. But I reckon eventually, because obviously the horizon will keep on rising and rising, but it'll get to a point where it doesn't rise anymore because that's like
do you know if you turn a telescope? If you turn a telescope the other way and you look through the lens, now the picture you see at the other side's smaller, isn't it? It's like a little circle.
What do you mean?
If you get a big telescope and you hold it up and you look through with your eye, you see the horizon closer up, don't you?
I'm not sure.
The telescope?
We'll have to actually kind of...
No, like what you would stand on a ship and look to see if there's land coming.
All right.
Yeah, telescope, so you turn it around the other way, so everything would appear a lot smaller than it really is, wouldn't it?
So what, because you have the reverse effect?
Yeah, it has a reverse effect, so that's what things look like when we can't see that far, because we're doing the opposite. When we turn it one way, we see what we can't see if we could see that far, and then the other way we see what it's like to not see that far, and it puts everything in a little circle. So the moon could be off in you don't know what shape it is. We can only see a certain... It's the way your vision works. It makes everything look round, because your lens is round.
Well, with the sunsets and stuff, because a lot of people think this is a silver bullet proof of a globe, but the reason is because of the atmosphere that's kind of making it appear huge at the horizon if you look at it. So it's the atmospheric lens in effect, like with the Chicago skyline where the bottom's hidden, but on a clear day the sun will actually just gradually get smaller at the horizon. It'll just go off perspective.
But you know, this lens effect has it been demonstrated in the lab, because I've seen no experiments that show it on a smaller scale. Do you know what I mean? So you can say make any excuse up.
Well, have you seen Rob Skiba's video on the atmospheric lensing?
No, I know there's these big patterns that come up in the sky now, but that's also to do with your eye, because it's getting witnessed by the camera and the viewer, isn't it? So we seem to take that out of the equation and just think it's the atmosphere. Do you know what I mean?
One thing that absolutely destroys the heliocentric model, though, is the fact that you can see Venus at night time, and that's partly Mercury as well. But I saw Venus last night, and it should have been, because if the sun sets west, due west, as they say it does, and sort of Venus was more off towards the southeast.
Well, they're closer to the sun, so when we turn around in the light, if we can see them, they should be in the sun. Like, it should be during the day, not during the night.
Yeah, and even when it's at sunset, if you're on a spinning ball, then you're turning 90 degrees from the sun, aren't you, at that point? Yeah?
Yeah.
So it technically should still be in your vision till probably just after it goes dark, possibly, but only at that side. It should only be in the side where the sun's
the side of you. Yeah.
But not at the opposite side, absolutely no way, because that's totally the opposite to where you'd expect it to be. Because if anything, it should be down below it. You wouldn't keep getting these instances where you're able to see it, because you'd only get a few times where you'd see it per year, because where it's aligned with your view, because sometimes it should be at the opposite side of the sun, shouldn't it? And it should be like...
Yeah, but we say we don't even know how many there is. There could be more than one. They could just come along in a cycle, couldn't they?
Well, Billy Sunday seems to think there might be multiple suns and stuff.
I think there's about at least 3. That's what I think.
Like the distant, like switch, like kind of probably like batons or something.
No, I think there might be a North Pole that's the opposite polarity, and then there's 3 souths, and just keep dotting themselves along, producing power somehow. Maybe it goes up and down as each sun goes
over. It could be multiple projections, perhaps.
Yeah, but there might be some sort of breathing. Do you know if there's a breathing in the ocean like a tide? Maybe there's something in the atmosphere. Do you know, like whether whatever's up above us comes down and then goes back up with the sun? It's like mind-boggling, isn't it, the possibilities without ever being able to validate it?
Yeah.
It's like outer space.
It could just be however you perceive it, really.
Yeah, well, it is, isn't it? It is for you, because that's what I said before. If you got up and you never got into this debate and you always thought you was on a ball, then you end your days living on a ball, don't you? Because you could never prove any other thing different, and you never heard anything different.
Yeah, because you think that ships going over the horizon proves the curve, so that's what you believe. So it's like, if you believe that, then...
It doesn't, though, does it? Because we can bring it back in. They're the two.
Exactly.
That's the thing that proves it to me. The gyroscope and being able to pull things back in that we were always being told that was disappearing.
Yeah, I don't really quite understand how the whole gyroscope thing is, and maybe a lot of people don't really understand it either. So
well, it's quite simple, Jamie. It's what it is when the gyroscope. Have you ever put something on the end of a string and swung it around? Like a ball on a string and just swung it. You must
like a sort of like a yo-yo or something, like a yo-yo.
When you think of, have you ever spun it round?
I don't know.
Like swinging a cat. You know what I mean? That sort of thing. Have you ever done that? Not with a cat though.
So what are you saying?
There's a force that's caused when you swing it round. So that's a
You're talking about the centripetal force or something.
Yeah. So that'll spin, and that overrules the force of gravity downwards. So no matter which way that starts to spin, it'll stay fixed. So it doesn't matter what happens around it, it stays rigid in space. Now, if I'm going along and that's rigid in space and I tilt down, then that'll stay rigid and that'll give me a reading on a false horizon and I'm pointing towards the ground. So then I have to pull up to line up with the gyroscope again.
So does it prove that we're not spinning, or does it actually prove we're flat? That it's flat.
It proves we can go up and down, but we can't fly around 360 degrees.
What do you mean?
You can't go around a ball with a gyroscope.
So it proves that it's not curving then.
No, it's not tilting over. It's flat as a pancake.
Because you have the artificial horizon in the planes and stuff. It's like,
well, you need to know how they work before anybody argues about them, because there's a thing called recession. Now, recession's caused by
precession. You mean?
Yeah?
Whatever.
Yeah, it's precession. It's a force it's caused by the outside because that's spinning in space. It's rigid in space, so it's resting on a bearing. So if I give it a force, so it's caused usually on one of these vacuum ones, it's caused with acceleration. So it presses the gyroscope against the little bearing housing, which will cause it.
Do you have any idea what Antikythera mechanism is?
No.
And I think Billy Sunday was talking about it, but I don't really know what it's all about, really. But it apparently proves that we're not spinning or something.
No, I don't think we're spinning.
Well, definitely not. It's like, if we are spinning on a ball going around the sun, then like I said...
Well, that's the two things I'm sure of, myself.
Venus and Mercury, and apparently even Jupiter can be visible as well at the same time, all these things, where they're supposed to be all be at opposite ends of the planet, so...
Well, another thing is, all these stars that's in the sky, and there's, I couldn't even imagine the number of the stars here, and none of them move in perspective to each other. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're all in they're all in the same relative positions, aren't they?
So the ones closer to you should be moving past and to a different distance.
Yeah, because if we're traveling at all these mind-boggling speed, even if they are as far away as they're telling us, they should all be moving apart noticeably.
Yeah, and back together as you come round again.
Because if we're traveling 2.2 million miles per hour around the Great Attractor, then that means in a day we've travelled about 26 million miles.
Yeah. Well, have you looked into the Nobel Prize? That's a fucking joke.
What do you mean?
Well, it was made. It's in the name of a man who invented dynamite, and there's a peace prize in his name. He invented dynamite and detonators. Now he's killed more people than anybody else, and we give a peace prize in his name or an achievement.
Yeah.
So there's scientists that get the Nobel Prize for saying the universe is coming apart at a fantastic rate, and then they get a Nobel Prize, and everybody believes them. And then further down the line, somebody comes up with a new discovery because that was proven wrong, that actually the universe is coming together at an alarming rate, and they get a Nobel Prize, and that's another validation for them, and everybody starts going down that road. You know what I mean? It's just they just pat themselves on the back saying, you need to believe this man. No, I'm not saying everybody that gets the Nobel Prize is like that, but it's just give it to somebody who's got a real sense of achievement and give it to an idiot.
From the real truth, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's like a validation of, look, you have to listen to this man, he's got this certificate. Do you know what I mean?
Well, people have contradicting beliefs and things, yet loads of people think they're true.
Yeah, well, you can repeat a lie to us and know the lie really well, and you can know the lie word for word, but it doesn't matter how well you know it. It doesn't make it true because you know it.
Well, it's just there's so many inconsistencies with this global Earth model that, it's like, if it were true, it'd be so easy to prove, because if a ship is going over a curve, then whatever you do, you'd never be able to zoom it back in again.
But there'll be some reason they always come up with a refraction of light and it's a cold air. Well, I'll tell you what, produce the cold air and the refraction of light in a lab and show us how that works then, and then I'll believe it.
The thing is, you'd actually see it wave and stuff like that.
What I mean is, Jimmy, if you can't produce that in a lab, then how can you claim it?
Yeah, so what they do, I described it like a game of Jenga. What they do, because somebody takes a piece out of their puzzle because they expose it, and so they put it on top because they have to put it on top. They have to put something on top of it. So eventually, it's just all gonna come tumbling down because there's none of it supports each other. So it just kind of.
It's all built on a false premise, so when you get down to it, there's no base for it to stand on, so it will all just fall apart.
Yeah, especially the foundation is just, it's all rooted in fallacies.
The bigger they build it, the weaker it becomes.
Well, the taller they build it, so... Yeah. But it seems like the narrowest part is at the bottom, and that's the worst way you can build something. Yeah. So that when they build their premise, it's like the top part has gotten wider because they have to fill more and more in, because people are becoming more and more skeptical of it, so they have to come up with more and more BS to go on top of it.
It's like building a big skyscraper on a cesspit of shit. It just doesn't. It's nothing for it to be rooted, and there's no foundations for it. It's just soft, and it'll just all just tumble eventually because it piled too much shit on it.
Yeah, it's just keep going. Oh, it's gravity. Oh, it's refraction. But the thing is, people are getting smarter, but they have to kind of keep getting smarter. And I think you can't just keep it going forever.
No, but you got to be aware that it's always going to be there. That's the thing. It's, you're not going to get rid of it. You can
get rid of what?
People trying to control you. That is always going to happen because it's happened already. We already did experiencing it. So
yeah, those that are trying to ridicule and mock it and censor people.
But that's the biggest problem, is this mockery. We all do. We all have a laugh at the other person, and while we're doing that, we're not.
It's like we're doing it to each other, but it's not a good idea, I think.
I mean, I try and listen to the opposite side. I've got no malice or anything towards them, but I see so much, nastiness in them sometimes.
Yeah, it's not that they're, we don't think that they're stupid or anything. It's just their behaviours, I think, is appalling, really.
I think the opposite. I think they're really intelligent. You know what I mean? It's just not.
Well, I think that
that's what's holding them back.
Saying that it's cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, but they're more of a victim than we were because they're still stuck in it. Do you know? What I mean?
Because I think there might be some people that are so just kind of in their head, they're so kind of going through turmoil right now that this is their way of reacting. It shows that we're doing a good thing, that we're onto something, because we wouldn't have such a negative kind of knee-jerk reaction to it, would we, if there weren't any truth to it? Yeah,
exactly, because you're challenging the beliefs. It's like as soon as I start to talk about certain things with certain people, they'll act a certain way, and I wasn't even challenging them. It's because I have my beliefs, and it comes across like I'm challenging theirs.
If you use the Socratic method, it's like, I'm just asking you questions, and they'll be like, they'll get all defensive, and you just ask them questions. And why is it, if the Earth's curving such an amount, then we should be able to measure it? Actually, you say that we shouldn't be able to measure it, but we should actually be able to tell when things are going over it, sort of thing. Like if they're telling us a ship is sinking over a curve, I know you said that we shouldn't see it left to right, so I don't know whether that's a straw man argument to use.
I mean, you can use it if you want, but I just don't believe it.
Yeah, it's not good trying to use BS to try and...
No, because if somebody's pointed that out to us, that's why we should be seeing a curve. We might be getting played. Do you know what I mean? With it being actually flat, but it opens it up for other people to disprove us later on.
Because
we're all looking for clues, Jamie. We're all looking for clues, and we'll snatch whatever's there, and we're not thinking them out properly. Now,
that's exactly it. That's why I was saying about the Venus. Maybe that there are certain times you'd be able to see it, but it's about kind of stripping back all the stuff that isn't necessarily proofs of anything. And I don't even use I don't really use, sometimes they talk about water being level, but I feel like the globers kind of don't get it because they think, gravity's bending it around the curve, so that's why water finds its own level and all that. Because on the small scale, it's not very noticeable. So
we know that, so we knew it all anyways about how mass and gravity works. And then the minute you say, they'll explain it to you what you've already learned, and then you'll say, well, the bit I don't understand, and they'll go, what don't you understand, you retard, and start personally attacking you. And it's like they're avoiding it. Jamie, I'm gonna have to go, mate.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on anyway.
Catch you later.
Yeah. I think the thing is, we don't even really know how our eyes work, and suppose if we were living on, we don't know what it would be like to live on a globe because we're not on one. People use like CGI and stuff and show you what it would look like, let's say on a Google Earth, but do our eyes really work like that? I don't think so. So if we shouldn't see a curve, then that discredits those people who say they've seen it when you wouldn't see it anyway. And if there is one, if you are supposed to see one, then it isn't where no one's seen it where it's supposed to be, so they can't have it both ways. So whichever way, it pretty much proves them wrong, because Anyway, medium fine. I turned my 80-year-old neighbour onto Flat Earth yesterday. He was surprised to find out you can bring a ship back into view with optics. He sounded intrigued, said he'd check out Flat Earth. Interesting, It's good that older people are getting into it as well, and because I suppose it's good to try and focus on young people, but any age really. It's like the thing with older people is they're so hardened in their belief, but if you show them something simple like bringing a ship back in, then it goes against the idea that it's going over any curvature. curvature, but people argue refraction. But so then, at what point does a flat Earth start to actually appear curving? Like, yeah, it would start to kind of all of a sudden look spherical. So yeah, they can't keep piling more BS because it's just gonna put more holes in it, and they can't really much longer keep it going. And whether they're planning on releasing it on purpose because they have some plan to push it into some false paradigm, then so there's so many arguments that they try and use but don't actually prove anything, and there's arguments for a flat Earth that can't be debunked. Simple. Where does the curve begin? Well, it'd have to start curving somewhere, wouldn't it? If we were on a globe, it would actually have to start dropping away at some point. So is anyone else after coming on for a little while? If not, I'm probably going to shut it down soon because I weren't intending on doing a long hangout. It's just I wanted to talk about some of these fallacies that people go on about, how that they think they can actually see the curve of the Earth, but what you're actually doing is looking in a circle. So what they believe is that our view is like when if you was to say cut the top off an orange, that's what our view is like. Sort of we're on top of that slice. Like, so say you cut the top off, you slice the top. The horizon is the kind of edge of that bit you cut off, and that's like the curve all around. But on a flat Earth, it's due to perspective because the vanishing point's always going to be at an equal distance all the way around. So it's going to be like that's if you're at the sea, for instance, you're going to see it all the way around 360 degrees. So I don't get how people can actually say they've seen the curve of the Earth when even if you should be able to see it at some point, even if you wouldn't see it at sea level, you're exactly living on a ball. Surely it is illogical. In fact, it's absolute insanity, the idea that people are standing upside down. I mean, it's because it's relative, we'll prove it. The burden of proof is on the claim. I'm not claiming that the Earth is flat. I can't prove that it's completely flat. Like, we could be living on a giant sphere, but they need to prove their claim. Okay, so Earth Discussions has a hangout going on called It's a Very Big Globe. So they pretty much just shoot themselves in the foot because it's because it's so big. But then some people be like, I've seen the curve of the Earth. So who the fuck's correct then? Probably none of you. It's kind of laughable, isn't it? People believe the rubbish. Well, I was hoping maybe Turquoise would come back on, but I think it's good to make sure that we're not using arguments that aren't in our favour. Like if we're saying about the left to right curve, because but we always see a flat horizon. I mean, on a globe you'd never see a flat horizon. It'd be impossible because the way your eyes would work, you'd always see in a kind of arc. If you were high up enough, you'd start seeing that arc, wouldn't you? You'd see that because if you're looking down at the horizon, then it's like everywhere from that point is actually getting lower. I'd have to kind of show it at some point because I know some people might not understand that, and I don't necessarily agree that you would never see a curve because from your central, because everything else is kind of your peripheral, so it's going to appear to drop off at the sides, and it's kind of hard to imagine really because you're going to be able to follow it around 360 degrees. But I'm thinking to myself, you can't have a flat horizon though. It always appear to curve off. But anyway, probably not going to be on here much longer. Just some things I wanted to point out really, because even if we should see a curve, you shouldn't see it at sea level. That's completely illogical. One thing's for sure, at a certain height you would see the horizon start to dip. It would start to get lower because you're looking further and further over a globe. So there's too many things that don't add up in their argument, and it can't go on forever, surely. People are going to have to find out sooner or later. Anyway, keep giving some dislikes. I don't care. 37. It's wasting your time. Just wow. Yeah, I think you probably would from a mountaintop if you're seeing quite far out to the horizon. But then again, like how far are we seeing? Though that's the thing. I think if you was to get a camera, for instance, and the horizon was say, I don't know, 50 miles away or 100 miles away, then you should have to angle it down ever so slightly to get the horizon into focus. So I'll probably be going live again tomorrow night. We're doing a proper hangout then. So anyway. So, if we're going to make claims, then it needs to be non-debunkable claims, because the left to right curvature, it probably wouldn't be noticeable when you're standing on a beach. Well, I've seen what I thought could have been the curve, but it would be impossible to see a curve from a beach anyway. But it's your left to right perspective is, if you're looking from left to right, then you're going to see a horizontal curve. But if you're going to believe that the Earth's a curve, then you've got to think that that's the curve of the Earth. Well, anyway, thanks for getting involved in chat and to Turquoise for coming on, and to Flat Earth Still Water for coming on. So I'll be doing a hangout again tomorrow night. Thanks to all the mods as well. Been doing a good job. Till then, peace everybody.